Hi, I'm Jeff Ludy, the owner of Houston Window Experts, and today I'm going to talk about the 3 types of window replacements that can be done on a house. So let's say you own a house, you love the house but hate the windows, for example, and you decided, I want new windows for my home. There's 3 different ways that you can have those windows replaced, and a lot of people don't know that. And since this channel is about information, because information's power, and when you have power, you can make better decisions, I thought I should cover that. Now, primarily, we're talking about replacing wood windows. Now, some of this also pertains to other types of windows like vinyl or fiberglass. But if you have wood windows in a home today and you're going to replace that with wood or vinyl or fiberglass, this is probably more for you than if you just have single pane aluminum windows today and you're going to go back with, say, a vinyl window, for example. So I'm going to talk about the three types of replacement. So this is method number 1. This is, we're looking at an Anderson window. One of the things that I want you to notice about this window is that it's got an aluminum exterior and it has a wood interior. And that's not really quite as important till it comes to the process of replacing. But this is what you would typically see in a project where somebody has wood windows that maybe they've rotted out, or they're single pane old windows in a home that has wood windows, and they want to go back with something that's double pane or has like an aluminum exterior or something where it's going to withstand the weather better. And this first type is what we call a full tear out replacement. Full tear out meaning we're going to take the window and we're going to pull it completely out, and on the frame around that window that's in there and the trim around there, all of that's going to come out. That's a full tear out. Most window companies who do full tear out replacement windows, they take all the brick mold off, which is a trim piece around the outside. They'll take all the trim off on the inside of your window, and they're going to take that original window out completely, and you're going to see the studs on the side, and they're going to come back with a brand new window like this. They'll do it either with a nailing fin, which is what it started with originally, or they're going to do it without. Depends on where they would need to place the window. But that's step, the typical way a lot of people do it, full tear out. Now, there's some benefits to full tear out, and we do some full tear outs, don't get me wrong, but there's also some drawbacks to full tear out. What are the drawbacks to a full tear out? Well, number 1 is you're not just replacing your window, because all these windows come with trim around them, right? You're going to have brick or siding or stucco on your house, and you're going to have a trim board, and then you're going to have your window. So follow me for just a minute. Here's your wall outside, okay? And then you're going to have a piece of trim here, and then you're going to have the window. So you're not just replacing the window. Now you've got to replace all of this trim on the outside, which means you have to paint all of this trim on the outside. And then on the inside, you're replacing all the trim on the inside. And I have a piece of trim here to kind of demonstrate that. So here's the window. This is the window. This is what you get from the window company, is this. But then in your house right now, you've got a trim. Now this is an outdoor piece of trim, and I use it as an example. You would have trim like this all the way around your window, right? You should, if you have a wood window. And so to get that window out, they usually have to destroy this trim. Now here's the problem with that. Let's suppose that you have really unique, beautiful trim that you just love. There's nothing wrong with your trim. You just want to replace the window. Now you're not just buying a window. Now you have to replace all that trim inside the house. And not only do you have to replace the trim inside the house, now you have to paint it all. And not only do you have to paint it all, but usually where it connects to the wall, the sheetrock, like right here, look at this. Here's the trim on this. Here's my sheetrock. Now getting that out means that this usually brings a little bit of sheetrock with it, and now this has got to be painted. Well, if you got to paint this and the paint's fresh and this paint's not so fresh, guess what? You got to keep painting till you get to the corner. And then not just to the corner, you got to go all the way down to the baseboards. You got to go all the way up to the top for this to really look finished and beautiful when it's done. Do you see where I'm going with this? Do you see how much work that is? So at Houston Window Experts, we developed, someone else has probably done it, but I don't know anybody in my market doing it like we do. We developed a way to replace this window, a full tear out window, okay, without damaging the inside trim. Now, and I'm going to put a little asterisk in there and a little caveat that sometimes there is some damage to the trim, but it's very rare, doesn't happen much at all. So what we do differently is we take this window, and on the outside where your trim is, we take a knife, we score that, and we take all your trim off on the outside. Now from the outside, we get to see this part of the window, the frame of the window. On the inside, what we do is where this trim is attached, come back over here and I'll show you again. where this trim is attached right here on the side of your window, your carpenter, when that trim was applied, was using little finishing nails in here, right? Usually on a little air gun, you know, as long as you didn't put 50 of them in there. What we like to do is we come in here and we actually score this with a blade, okay? Imagine that I've got some caulking on this right here. I come in here and I'd score that with a blade, right, to get that cut out of the way. And then what I would do is I'm going to take a little tool, it's called a rotozip. It's got a little saw blade on it, real fine bit, saw blade, it oscillates like this. And we go back in there and we actually cut the nails. Ah, now you're catching on. So now that we cut the nails loose, now we can carefully go to the outside and just separate the window from the inside trim. Get that? So now you basically have this trim floating on the inside. It kind of looks like a picture frame, right? Just floating around where the window used to be. This old window goes out, the new window goes back in, and we butt the new window right back up against that trim again, okay? We re-nail the trim back on there, and now instead it's touch-up paint, not replace the whole trim, not paint the whole trim, not start all over completely. Then on the outside, where it used to have the trim around the outside that we took off so we could get to it, we will go ahead and use a composite trim, and that's what this is. This is a composite. It could be this type of trim. This is like a 1x4, or it could be like a brick mold trim, you know, which is like you're gonna see in this window over here. That's a brick mold trim right here. So it depends on what kind of trim you had on the outside or you wanna go back with. We'll replace that, we'll do it with a composite, so that now you end up with a window that's impervious to weather because it's made out of a composite, whether it be aluminum or fiberglass or something else. And now the trim is also a composite so that you don't have to replace or repair the outside of your windows ever again. So that is full tear out. And by the way, more costly. You can see why it's more costly, especially if you had to redo all of your trim, but it's more costly from the point of view that it takes more time to do it. Therefore, it's going to be a little more expensive of an install. Now, the second type is what we call a pocket window install. And so what do we mean by pocket window? Well, it's very similar to what we just talked about there. And here's a little demo unit that I have to kind of show you how that works. This is the outside trim I talked about, right? And then your window frame is sitting inside of here. And in this case, this is kind of what it would look like. We would end up taking out the sashes from your old window, right? We cut out your sashes. And then this is your old window frame. This actually still stays. This would stay inside the opening. So we didn't have to take out the outside trim. We didn't have to take off the inside trim. See, here's your inside trim, like that. We didn't have to take off either of those in this case. And then what we do instead is we get a window that we measure to go from edge to edge here. So in this case, 22 inches. So the window would slide inside of here. It's what you'd call a pocket window, or an insert window is what some people like to call it. So what does that do? Well, that saves you some time, so it saves you money. And you don't have to replace the trim on the outside if the trim was already in good shape. And you don't have to replace the trim on the inside. You're really just exchanging the heart or the guts of the window for a whole new window. So that's what this is. This is a whole new window, all right? It's just a window, everything, frame and all, that's gonna slip inside an existing window, and that's why it's called an insert, or it's called a pocket window, and it goes in like this, from the inside, mind you, and then they just put a little trim piece to make it match up to your existing trim, and you just walk on. Now, this is the way most companies do a pocket window. We don't do it this way. We don't do it from the inside. We found a way to make life better for you, even though it's more work for us, but it's gonna make you happier. Let me show you what I mean by that. So when I get a window to go inside a window, I'm losing glass space, right? Because think about this. This window was the same size as this window. They are, okay? But if you look, my glass starts from here to here on the same size window. I have 17 inches of glass, okay? On this one, I have 15 inches of glass. I lost 2 inches of glass because I left an inch on each side of the existing window. Now, if your window is 38, 40, 48, 50 inches wide, whatever the case may be, you probably don't really notice it much. But when you get into the smaller windows on your house, losing the glass space is going to be something that you were hoping to not do by getting a pocket window. So you say, Jeff, so what's my solution to that? What should I do instead? Well, here's what we do differently than most window companies who do a pocket window. We insert a pocket window from the outside, not from the inside. What we do is we take this stop, this is called a stop right here, this board, and we will actually remove this board so that instead of measuring our window to fit inside of a window, like this is about 21 inches, I can instead go all the way to the edge and gain another inch. Now I've got 22 inches because I'm taking off these two half-inch stops in order to create a wider space. Does that make sense? So now I can get a wider window, an inch wider window than most people would use on a typical pocket window. Put it in from the outside, and here's the beauty behind that. Now on the inside, it butts right up to the existing trim. I don't have to retrim the window with another small piece of trim on the inside like I would if I was doing the insert window. So what we need for that, though, is we need a window that has the right frame depth. Oh, it's so complicated, right? Aren't you glad that we have experts like the guys that work for me who think these things through? Because look, I can't really put this window inside of there because this window is 6 inches deep. This window is 5 inches deep because I have a little over 4 inches in a typical window. I have about 4 1/8 to 4 1/2 depth available to me. So if I get a really deep window and put it in there, guess what? It's going to stick out beyond the trim. But if I get a window like this that only measures 5 inches, when I butt that up, can you come over here? Look at this. I'm going to show you. I'm going to butt that up to where the trim is. Look where it comes out to. See that 5-inch window? It's going to come out to right here, right on the edge of this trim. If I had a 6-inch window, where would it come out to? It would come out about an inch past the edge of the trim. Now we'd end up having to build up the trim, bring it out further, which in most cases, in most homes, that's going to look a little awkward. So having availability to get different frame depths from different companies provides us to be able to give you the right look you want, doing it with the most amount of glass possible, and then making sure that it actually works and doesn't leak and will last forever. That's the goal, right? Now, Jeff, you've been talking about replacing windows with wood windows. What if I have a wood window, and I like your concept here, but I just don't want to spend the money on going back with wood. I want to go with vinyl, because vinyl is, after all, getting more beautiful and beautiful all the time. The premium vinyl companies are making really nice vinyl windows that are very durable, and they last a long time. And why don't we just do that instead, Jeff? Why don't we put one of those in there? Okay, good. We can do that. So that'll work too. Now here's what you have to remember though. This is a typical vinyl window. I mean, this is what most people are selling. This is like from a double hung vinyl window. Oh gosh, that thing's about 3.5 inches in profile. Now, if you didn't like losing glass a minute ago with that window, you're sure not gonna like it with this window. Let me show you. Look at how that's gonna look. Well, maybe I can move it to here. Look how that's gonna look. Can you see that? I mean, you're losing so much of your glass space with that. Now again, big window, maybe it doesn't matter. What I like instead is companies that make specialty windows that are narrower frames, and we can use those in a situation like this. Look at the difference between these two. I mean, which one would you want to put in there if glass space was important to you, right? Certainly you'd go with the one on the right. Let me show you how that looks. The window on the right or the window on the left. Which one do you like better? I like the one on the right. So if you're going to go back here with a vinyl window, right? Maybe you want to make your house a little more contemporary. And so you're going to replace the windows and go a little more contemporary. You don't want something big and bulky like this that goes already inside of a pocket that's kind of big and bulky. You want to go with something with a narrow profile. So if you're going to go with vinyl, very important that you find a vinyl window that has the right depth accommodation, but also has a narrower profile so that you don't end up losing a bunch of glass space. Now, you say, Jeff, how did you even know about that? Oh my God. I drive around in some of the nicest neighborhoods of Houston, and I drive by and go, oh my God, who did that? And then you realize, okay, the homeowner certainly and clearly did not know what to expect when they bought that window. The salesperson told them, oh, it's a great window, it's a great window. Like, yes, it's a great window. And that's where the conversation ended. And then somebody came out and installed the window, and they stood back and looked at it, and they cried. Have you ever, this happened to my wife one time, have you ever gone and got a haircut, and it didn't look like you hoped it did? And you're like, you cry, right? And it's like, oh my God. But you know what? At least with a haircut, it's going to grow back. With a window, those windows, if they're good, they're going to stay there for 30 years or more. So that's the way you can do it. That's option number 2, would be to do a pocket window. Now there's a third option, and this is going to be an option where it only works with typically operable windows, right? Like double hung windows, they go up and down. And that's called a Sash Kit replacement, or a replacement Sash Kit. So it's a kit. You take out the sashes of your windows, right? You take them out, and then you get new sashes. So you leave your old existing frame, you leave your old existing trim. This actually is very little labor, but these units can be pretty expensive, sometimes more expensive than a new window. But you get 2 of these. This is the bottom sash of a window, and then we have the top that came with it. And what you're going to do is you're going to just take all the guts out of the window, and you're going to put this new sash back in there. Why? Well, because it still has the wood on the inside, like you love, and it has the aluminum on the outside to keep you protected. And this comes in about 60 colors. There's a few companies that do these sash kits. Marvin does a nice sash kit. Windsor does a nice sash kit. I think it's an option in some homes. What it comes with is it comes with 2 of these. This is called a jam liner. Okay, this is the jam liner right here. So if you follow me here, this piece right here on your window is going to be that you would have in your home now. Has a jam liner already on it. If you live in a house that was built in the last about 40 or 50 years and it has wood windows, it's probably not the old school real wood windows like the ones that had that counterweight with a rope and stuff in it. You probably don't have that. You probably have a jam liner, something that looks similar to this. So we can take the sashes out. We tear your old jam liner out. We get the new jam liner. The new jam liner goes in there just like that, right? And then if you notice here, it's got these tracks. The sashes actually connect to this track, and it allows it to operate up and down. So if you notice here, it's got a slope on it. See this slope? So that slope is designed to fit right inside of there. Fits down the slope of your sill. It comes cut off to the length you need. Goes in there, snaps into place. You put the new sash on, you walk away. Now here's the negative to that. And well, let me give you one more positive first. It's made out of composite, it's fine. The positive to that is, look how skinny this is. Look, this is 1 3/4 of an inch on the sash width. So you know what that means, right? That's perfect. That means that you're not going to lose any glass space in this case. No glass space at all is going to be lost. So I love that. What's difficult about this, or the negative to this, is it's only made in kits for sashes, for operable sashes. So what that means is, let's say you have a whole house full of windows and they're all double hung windows, no big deal. Just replace them all. Or let's say you just need to fix 1 or 2 windows or 3 windows. Great. You can just buy 1, 2, or 3 of these and just do the windows you need to do and keep moving on. But if you had a fixed window, say a big picture window or something, and it's not operable, they don't make kits for that. Now that's where having a friend in the business like Houston Window Experts comes in handy. What we do instead is, let me show you, I wasn't planning for this, you're gonna have to walk with me real quick. What we do instead is we put in a special order with one of our manufacturers to just basically get you a direct set. Let me find my direct set. Ah, here it is. We get you a direct set window, and this is going to be the same width of that profile, and it's going to be wood on the inside. And what we do is we can have them make this a little bit tighter, where it's whatever width we want it to be. In this particular, because we need like 4 1/8. See right there, that's 4 1/2. Actually, that 4 1/2 would work. We probably wouldn't have them change this at all, so you wouldn't have to pay an extra upcharge for a custom frame depth. But we would buy something like this instead. Let's go back there. I'll show you how cool it looks. So remember, we don't want to lose glass space. That's important to us, right? So we'd buy something like this, if this was a fixed window, right? And it would sit in there real nice like that. That looks good, doesn't it? I love how that looks. So now you get an aluminum exterior, you get a wood interior, and you've got this like really crisp, clean look. So that leads to kind of like what we like to do here at Houston Window Experts a lot of times, is we come out and consult, right? We don't just sell and install windows. We help you. We're experts, so we help you understand what it is would work best for your home. So let's suppose for just a minute you live in a house that's got all wood windows, and one of these three options is going to be one of your three options, and you need to do something about it. One of the things we can do is, let's say downstairs, you come up to the front of the house. If you got a dining room, formal dining room on the left, and then you have your front door, and then on the right you have a sitting room or a study or something like that, or formal living room. Maybe those on the bottom floor, maybe you don't even want those windows to open anymore, right? Because maybe you don't hardly ever open them. But you want them to match the rest of the house. Well, that's where we can use something like this, right? A fixed window that doesn't operate, to put in at the bottom, on the bottom of the house, right? The windows that don't open give you a really nice updated look on your house. And then when we go upstairs, where those bedrooms are up there that they need to operate, that's where we end up with a sash kit like this. Or we end up with a narrow frame window like this Pella right here. This is the Pella Lifestyles. This will fit in there, and we don't lose much glass at all. So we'll lose a little bit, but not much. This is 2.5 inches, okay? So that was 1.5. This is 2.5. So it's a little bit wider, but it is an operable window, and it's going to look really gorgeous when we're done. So that's the three types of replacement for wood windows, going back with either wood again, with aluminum, or going back with fiberglass, going back with vinyl, going back with composite. Hope you've enjoyed this video. We'd love to come take a look at your project and see which of these three would work best for you. And if we have any questions at all, feel free to contact us. If you're watching from somewhere else around the country and you're like, oh, Jeff, do you know anybody in my area? We actually might know somebody in your area. You can email our office. There's a link down in the bottom of the description here so you know how to reach us. And if we do know somebody in the area, we're going to try to point you in the right direction. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. We'll talk again real soon.